Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Tech Tinktrons channel where we're going to tinker and learn. Today, we are going to be doing a modification of ISO using NTLite of Windows 10 to get a lighter, non-bloatware version of Windows that we can install on a device that doesn't have much space for it. So, without further ado, we'll just start it off with a nice little intro. Be sure to like, subscribe on your way in, hit the notification bell so you get your notifications and all that good stuff. So let's get it started. So let's get with it.
I'm talking about sample breakfast.
And it opens these URLs really quick.
Got him. Definitely not the greatest at playing this game, but I have fun. That's all that matters. Ouch.
All right, so basically, if you're not already subscribed, make sure you subscribe to our channel, subscribe to our sister channels, and this is where we are, this is who we are, and this is what we do. And that's what it's about. You know, you can see all our videos here. You know, I like to go to people's channels and I like to just go for the videos. We got like some live stuff too, but I don't really do live stuff that often because I just don't. So with that, let's get to the presentation. All right. So basically what we're doing today is we're going to customize and de-bloat the Windows installer using NTLite. Okay. And it's a nice program. I like it. It's simple to use, and we're going to demonstrate how it works and that sort of thing, and how to set up your ISO so that you have a nice light bloat-free Windows install. All right. So what NTLite is it's a powerful Windows customization and configuration application designed to create personalized, streamlined, and de-bloated Windows 7, 8, 10, and 11 installation images. It enables users to integrate drivers, updates, and tweaks into a bootable ISO and remove unwanted components to reduce the OS footprint, often used for optimizing system performance or unattended installations. So it's nice. It's a really good program. I like it. Okay. So the problem that I have is that I have an ACER R11 R3 131T that cannot have an upgraded hard drive because it's a small chip that is soldered to the motherboard. I do not have the tools to upgrade the device with a new soldered hard drive. It's stuck with Windows 10 because it doesn't have enough RAM to run Windows 11. And I actually attempted to run Windows 11 on the said specifications only to find out that it was not possible. The hard drive is 32 gigabytes. The standard version of Windows requires too much space on that given hard drive. I have to get the hard drive. I get hard drive full messages, and system sometimes runs slow. Simple things such as shutting down is hard to do. All right, so we'll take a look at it. At this point in time, I'm actually fortunate enough to have 3.64 gigabytes available space on the hard drive. I compressed the drive to save disk space and things like that. But when you compress the drive, it seems to run a little bit slower than not compressing the drive. And so that, and I'm lucky to have that much space right there. It was like usually a matter of megabytes that I had at the time. So that's how it is. You know, I mean, that's what it looks like. You know. So basically, when you get to the menu items, there's just way too much stuff. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of stuff that I don't need. I don't use Cortana, so I don't need Cortana. I don't need a feedback hug, a Bangor system, or system help, or anything like that. Um, I don't need the media player. The whole idea is really to for me to remotely connect to devices to do my work from the remote VPSs. Those are the devices I want to connect to. So when I'm on the road, this device is in this form factor that's small enough for me to take with me in a book bag, carry an adapter, hook it up to my Wi-Fi, and basically get work done on the road, or I use it to do critical things if I want to access the VPS, which has certain things that I can't really do on the phone. That's but there's all this stuff that I just don't need, and it's got to go. I'm not playing Xbox on this thing. It's not even worthy of playing Xbox. That's the problem. It's too small for spec wise. So what we're gonna do is, this is my choices that I have. Okay. I could throw it away, make more e-waste. I could sell it, but nobody's gonna buy it. And there's so much better stuff on the market these days. I got this thing a few years ago, but I don't want to throw it away. It's actually pretty valuable to me for the reasons that I said before. I can install a light Linux distro on it. That might be something I could consider doing down the road. I could run Windows 10 as it is with performance issues because of low hard drive space, but that's too frustrating, and that's just not the way I do things. I could attempt to install a light version of Windows 11 on it to see what happens there. So this is what I have. Basically, all right, my first choice is to attempt to install a light version of Windows 11 on the ACER R11 R3 131T. If Windows 11 cannot be ran, we'll run a de-bloated Windows 10 install, since the software does both of those operating systems. My reasoning and rationale for this is basically the ACER R11 R3 131T is a lightweight, great for travel, great for being a road warrior. Nothing will be installed on it except the operating system, because it'll only establish connections to remotely to VPSs. And I could get more value beyond the device's useful years. I could still get updates from Windows 10 by being part of the extended update program. That works out great. Okay. So here are the 12 steps required to get this done. First, you want to check the target PC's specifications before you do any project. Then you want to download, when you're comfortable with going forward with the specs that you have, you want to download the Windows 10 ISO for Microsoft. And actually, you have to download the media creation tool, which downloads the Windows 10 ISO for you, and then allows you to create the ISO based upon what you need and require. Download the NTLite application and install and run the NTLite application. And before I continue, everything that you need to do this project is linked below off of my site. So I figured, I could put my site there, and I could add the links and kind of direct you where you need to go. So you want to make the necessary modifications to the Windows 10 ISO NTLite. We're going to create a virtual environment in VMware or a hypervisor of your choice in order to test it out before taking it live. Then we're going to download Rufus. Then we're going to use the operating system that use Windows to format a blank USB thumb drive. And I'll say that step's not really necessary. But you could just use Rufus to write the ISO to the USB hard drive. But I do that as kind of like a way to clear the hard drive, see what's on it, and clear it, and have no complications when Rufus gets to it. Then we're going to power on the ACER R11 R3 131T. Press the F2 key. It may be different for whatever. If you have a Dell or if you have something else, or HP, it's going to be something else. Find out what it is. You have the internet to help you. And we're going to press that key to get into the BIOS. And only purpose we want to go to the BIOS for is to select what drive. We want to select the USB thumb drive to be the boot device, the first boot device. Then once we get everything together, we could run the Windows 10 installation from there. So that's the 12 steps. All right, so like I said before, you want to check the target PC specs. And what I mean by target PC is the PC in which you're going to do this project to. where you're going to install this operating system at is where you want to do. Before attempting any project involving upgrades to hardware or software, be sure to begin by checking the specifications to avoid wasted time and effort, right? And so that's what we're doing right here. We're going to take a look at what we have. We have installed RAM of 2 GB. It's not upgradable. It's DDR3 memory, which is old school kind of compared to what's out today. We have a Celeron processor N3060 at 1.6 gigahertz with a 130 megabyte graphic card and 29 gigabytes of storage. The storage, the hard drive is not upgradable on this device. It's soldered to the motherboard. So it and right now as in this screenshot you can see that 25 gigabytes of the 29 is used. Um and you know and that's all we have to work with. So we have to be creative. And one of the things I said was we can do a small install of Windows, and it turned out that you can't install Windows 11 on it, and we'll see why shortly. Um, but this is basically the specs. We go through the screen. If you want to get that, it's in your settings and then about, which is at the bottom, right next to my head over here. All right, and you can scroll down. It just says more of what device specifications are. You could copy the device specifications, and they have frequently asked questions. Now, what happened here was I attempted to run the install of Windows 11 that was processed through NTLite, but the PC must support TPM 2.0. Okay, that can be worked around, but the second item, where there must be at least 4 gigabytes of memory, cannot be worked around in this case. So that's what I was stuck with, and I had to go back and get Windows 10 set up. So my first choice is I can't get a lightweight version of Windows 11, but I can run a de-bloated Windows 10 install. And that's what we're going to do today. Okay. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Click the bell for notifications and that sort of thing. All right, so item number 2 is to download the Windows Media Creation Tool to create the Windows 10 ISO from Microsoft. Okay. So I'm going to demonstrate that. You don't want to click update now for the assistant. You want to download the media the installation creation tool. All right. You want to get it in your downloads, and these are all some of your other options on the page that you have. Check back. They frequently, I guess, they update from time to time, and that's what you have. But we're gonna get to it. We're gonna get to the media creation tool, and we're gonna get that installed right away here. Make sure you it's gonna do that, and it's gonna give you a logo. I'm gonna clean up my work area a little bit. It's gonna say getting a few things ready. This is gonna take a minute, so you might want to get a snack, get some drink or something like that. I sped up part of this to make this video go by a little bit quicker. So it's going to be getting a few things ready for us. We don't know exactly what it's getting ready, but it's components of the operating system. Now you have the applicable notices and license you want to accept. You can accept them. You don't have to always agree with them, but you're bound to them legally. Okay. Now it's going to do its rotating thinking thing. It's going to tell you at the top what's actually happening to a degree, a general idea of what's happening. We can't really see it on the screen because the zoom is too high, but we're getting a few things ready. So it's getting a few things ready. We don't know exactly what, but that's what's happening right now. Okay. Now I selected create an installation media. You could use the recommend settings, but if you don't use the recommend settings, you could change the language that way. But you have the 32-bit, 64-bit, or both. You could do a USB flash drive or ISO. We chose to do an ISO because we have to process the ISO first. It will put it directly to a flash drive of your choice if you want to do that. But that would defeat the purpose of this video because we'd have a bloated image on a flash drive. We don't want that. All right, so what I like to do is I like to put it on my desktop. And since since Windows changes their ISO from time to time, I like to put a date to it so that I know when I had it. And although the files will tell you when you got it, it's easier to have the file name include the date. And that's just how I do things. All right, so I sped this up a little bit, and it's basically in the process of creating the. It's actually downloading the Windows 10 data to put into your ISO, and what's happening is it's gonna speed through the process. It's a little bit slower in real life, and it's gonna verify your download, which doesn't take too long. It's real quick, and it's gonna create the media, which doesn't take too long. It's reasonable as long as you have a nice computer doing it. You're good. Just to clarify, I'm not doing this on the Acer that I'm going to upgrade. That would be like, no. But I understand that some people might be in that situation where they have to use the device and this, that, and the other. But I have many different devices and I could like do work on this, do work on that, and that sort of thing. So it's in the process of creating that Windows 10 media that we need in order to process it in NTLite. And all the links that you're going to need are in the information section in the video. Click on techtinctronics.net link, and it'll take you to a little page that tells you about this process. It even has the video and the links of everything you're going to need. So it's very handy. Um, so sometimes it stalls at different points, but don't worry. As long as you can, let it get through the process, just relax, find something else you could work. You could keep working on your PC doing other things while this is happening. You'd be surprised what you could do on these PCs. When I was creating this stuff, I was actually running multiple shortcuts to get the parts edited. So it was kind of fun. I was taxing the system, if you will. All right, so we're almost done creating the Windows 10 media. All right, then you could burn it to a DVD, but I choose not to burn it to DVD. Now we are going to download the NTLite application. Okay, so that would be the next step here. You go to NTLite. The site will be linked from my site in the information section of the video. When you get it downloaded, it's going to go to your downloads in your browser, and then we're going to install and run the NTLite application. Okay. So basically, they give you a setup, and you go ahead and you run it. So I'm going to double click on it, the download that I have. And then I'm going to run through the installation process. And it's really just a few, like an agreement, and then like kind of where to install it. So you got to accept the terms of the agreement. Next, it's going to, and basically you don't have to change anything unless you have some specific requirements for your system. And then I'm going to click finish when it's all done. Then that's it. Real simple. All right. So what's happening is we have the Windows 11 ISO. I opened that first, but before I got to that, I chose the free limited non-commercial version of this software, NTLite. That's all I needed for right now. I could buy an upgrade later if I want to. If you're going to use it for commercial purposes, that's what you want to do. And basically, you would add your image, which could be, in our case, an ISO. I work with ISOs, but there's other images that you could work with as well. And it's going to open it. It's going to bring it down to a read-only status. Okay. And you'll notice that this is Windows 11. This is the part where I tried to set up a Windows 11 thing. And it tells you it's going to create a writable copy. And I basically click OK. And what it's doing is basically mounting. It's going to be mounting the ISO so that you can edit it. It doesn't take too long to do. We're going to be working with Windows 10 Home, but this works with Windows 11, and these particular steps right here apply. And these are all the different versions of Windows that we have. And we don't need all of them because all we need is Home. The Home version will allow us to do what we wanted to do without any additional cost. The Pro Edition, you're going to have to pay for, so on and so forth. Pro Education, you're going to have to pay a little bit for, and so on and so forth. And Education, I guess you got to be in education and set up for that particular field. Okay. So this just takes a little bit. Just be patient. Let it do its thing. Nothing's broken. It's part of the process. It's thinking. And how fast it goes depends on the speed of the computer and the specs that you have. Okay. All right. Don't mind this part. That's just the OBS thing. Got to check on OBS to make sure it's working right in order to make sure that everything is on the up and up. So it's copying the Windows 11 ISO to where I specified in the cache. Okay. And that takes a minute because it's the file's got a little bit of size and it's got a little bit of working through it. And it just takes a minute. So what we're going to do is we're going to make the necessary modifications to the Windows 10 ISO and NTLite. Okay. Okay. All right. So basically what's happening here is we're going to run the free limited non-commercial version that's trial at the top and all that stuff. The same steps that we do here would apply to Windows 10 or any operating system that you choose to do. So I actually performed this operation on Windows 11, not really realizing because I didn't do step 1. I didn't check to see if my hardware will run Windows 11. So that's why I say you got to check your hardware first and make sure, check the specs of whatever you're going to install on it so that you don't waste no time. Okay. But this process applies to whatever, whether it's Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 10, or 11. So I had to delete the Windows 11 information for the time being. And then we're going to process Windows 10 Home. Okay. All the other ones, Home N, Home Signal, and Home Signal and all that, we don't need. All right. So basically, what we're going to do is just focus on the Home because that's the only one we're going to install. You don't have to include those on the ISO, and that's a step at the end. So you have the image is read only, and to edit it, it's going to have to convert it to a readable, editable format. We're going to keep only Windows 10 Home, no to export all. So that's what I chose to do. Now this takes a minute to do. It's going to basically mount the ISO and get us ready for the editing part. This takes a minute to do, but it doesn't take too long. It's within reason. And when this is complete, you're going to have a ton of different options to choose from. And here's the thing: you don't have, you don't. There's some options that you can't change, and there are options that you can change. And they give you, in a lot of the cases, like a little bit of information next to the item that you're choosing to change, so that you kind of know what you're changing. Now, this is the first time that I actually get to work. I got to work with software such as this on what I have in my setup. So basically, um, it's going to take a minute to do this expansion and making editable the ISO, and you just have to kind of wait it out. Yeah, I could have sped it up, but I didn't. But it's no big deal. It doesn't take too long to do. And once you do it, you have to do it once, and you can save it, and then you could use it for other machines as well in your collection or whatever have you. Okay. So this is a good time to, like, say, you check your email, check your text, check your correspondence, and check for things like that while we wait for this to expand a little bit. It's only going to take a minute, and it's no big deal, you know. But while we're at it, subscribe to the channel. We got like a lot of projects that are going to be coming up. If there's a computer project that I got to do, chances are I'm going to do it on this channel. If I'm going to do music, I'm going to do it on the other channels, which are mentioned later in the video. So we're going to just, like go with that. Right now, as we wait, I'm going through my emails just to see if there's anything that I'm missing. So that's basically it. Let's see. Got 3 more emails to check on my new phone. Okay. We're at 71%, which is we're making progress. Okay. And it's almost done. So just bear with us here. You know what I mean? All right. 79%. And then this is the tricky part. If you are unsure of something, go on the internet and look up what it is before you make a change to it. Because if you don't know what it is and it turns out to be something really critical, your ISO will not work. That's basically what happens. And then the way this program is set up, you'll see that there are a lot of options that you can't change. And it's probably for good reason. Okay. So it's almost done mounting the ISO. Okay. And then what you have to do is it's mounted. Okay. Now it's getting ready to just read it so that you could get into it. Okay. And make some modifications. All right. So if on the left side you see that there's all the different things that you can do. You could do drivers, you could do registry additions, post setups, and things like that. And you would click those arrows and add them. So for me, what this is saying basically is always read all the things carefully. And this suggested to me to test the image before I installed it live on a machine. That's where I got that step from, was reading this screen here. So it's like if you remove certain components, it might not run the install. That's what they're saying. And then you have the option to do not show this in the future. I do not click that. I always like to be reminded of it. So we go through the apps, right? And the app installer, you cannot, if it's like grayed out like that, like you can't take it out. Can't take it off for whatever reason. You could take out Cortana, Feedback Hub. You could get Help, the Groovy Music, Mail and Calendar. And like I said before, I don't really need much on this machine, and I don't intend to install anything on there other than one program, and that's it. It tells you to the right hand side what it is that you're check marking, and then like there's subs that, and it just basically if there's anything listed under it, you got the selection of all of it or some of it. You could select one and not the other type of thing. And this is a pretty tedious process. You're going to make sure and you want to go through and you want to take out. I just tried to get this thing as thin as possible. And somebody who's probably more knowledgeable in this particular software probably knows how to even get it more, like do more lightening of the operating system than I did. Anything Xbox, I took out. I took out your phone. I had it on the previous install of Windows. Then you have all the driver stuff. I'm not going to touch any of that. I just wanted to see what they had out of curiosity. USB controllers and bus devices, don't touch it. I don't recommend touching it unless you really know what you're doing. That was another one. Gaming peripherals, I don't need it. I don't game, so I mean, I do game every now and again, but not on this device that I'm working for. So basically, when it says all like that, there's a list of things, and like I got the zoom too far in, so I have to like work on that. I didn't touch the ISO image part, and I didn't touch the language part. I did, and I just looked through a lot of them, and the things that I know I don't need, like I don't really care for a snipping tool in this case, but I'll keep it anyway. The default wallpaper, I'll keep that, and but the Xbox core has got to go. I won't be using that. And there's a few things that come with it that are associated with it that I had to check that box for. Internet Explorer, 32-bit Internet Explorer, like that's old school stuff. I'm not trying to have that on my machine. That's just extra data. Remote differential compression allows data to be synchronized. I'm keeping that. Simple TCP IP services, I'm keeping that. Telnet client, TFTP client, I'm keeping all of that. Kernel debugging, I think I'll keep that as well. It could be helpful. But you have the option to take any things out, like remote assistance, peer networking. I don't think we really need those, so we're going to take those out. And it tells you what it is. Um, but remote desktop, I need that. System apps. Now, I don't think I really messed with this too much. I just wanted to keep everything functional because you could take a lot of stuff out, but if you don't know what you're taking out, like the eye control, you could take that out. I'm not trying to use eye control features or anything like that, but everything else I decided to keep because a it could come handy at another time. You want to keep the Microsoft Defender antivirus. In my opinion, that's like it comes with the operating system. It's not a third party piece of software, so keep that. Um, the narrator, I took that out. And there's a lot of options in this program, a lot of options in your ISO, and and some of these things I considered taking out, but I decided to keep them. Windows Hello setup, I left that alone. And I took out anything that I saw that said Xbox. I don't have an Xbox or anything like it. Only thing I do have is, as you've seen in the beginning, I had like a game on another system. Actually, not on another system, on another PC. Well, yeah. All right. So I took out the webcam experience. It doesn't even tell you what it is. Then we went to scheduled tasks. I didn't really touch any of the scheduled tasks. The features, I took a look at them, and I seen that I could probably use what the green ones that we have are. But I wanted to keep the snipping tool app and things like that because in case I have to show something or something along those lines. Um, so these are basically the things that you would need. Some of what you would need to keep a basic system going. Now I took a look at the settings just to see what they were. Um, and to be honest, I couldn't tell you exactly what they are without looking them up because there's so many items. So I didn't really get into them too much. But in future install setups, I might look into these devices or these components and see what else can I remove to make a more slimmer version of a Windows install without crashing or running into a system that doesn't do anything type of thing. Um, so these are all the event viewer channels. I wanted to keep all those channels because uh, they could be helpful if you have an issue with your hardware or something in your software. So we didn't mess with those in this run. But you see all the power of this is amazing. And it is the enabled disabled. So I mean, I left them default as to what the NT Lite program would provide, and I just went through them. And then we went to Explorer. There's autoplay and all that, and it's either enabled or disabled or not applicable type thing. Network, I didn't touch anything network. I didn't want no trouble connecting to anything at the end of the day, so I left that alone. Power control, I left that alone. but there's options that you have there that you could do different things with, which is pretty neat. Um, got diagnostics information. I mean, it's just a ton. I mean, it's overwhelming the amount of stuff that you have to go through. So this could be like quite tedious, but it's well worth it. The result that you could get is amazing. I mean, a nice thin operating system without the bloatware, without the nagging of the company that sells you the operating system type thing. And in Windows Update, I didn't touch any of that, but I just wanted to kind of look through it and see what it was. You could practically disable Windows Update if you wanted to, you know, and then and you have the unattended stuff that and I didn't touch that either. It kind of the way it went was it did that for us, it did the unattended thing for us. Like the installation process that you get off of creating an ISO using this program is amazing. It gets the job done. It don't ask you any questions or do any dialog boxes. Then finally, we're gonna go to the apply section. What I chose to do was to save and trim the additions of Windows. I don't know what stop before saving the image does, so I didn't touch that. And then remove non-essential additions. I didn't touch that either. Now you have the image format that you have to select. I chose to stick with WIM. Then I go to create ISO. And in order to differentiate what I have for the Windows that I downloaded ISO, I decided to call, to kind of put the NTLite and the date sort of it's Windows 10. It was done on the day before Valentine's Day in 2026. So that if I come down years later, I know where this came from and what it was done under. You got options to label the ISO image and tells you the boot manager and stuff like that. And once you're done to that, you go up here and you click process. It'll tell you to disable Windows Defender. So you have no complications. What you want to do is you go to Windows Defender. I chose to go down to the task area where actually I would click the wrong thing, but because it looked like it. But go to virus and threat protection. Okay. And then you want to go to manage settings. I guess that's what you want to do. But it scans. I like the virus and threat protection that you get with Windows. It does it for you. They keep it up to date, and they have to, and it's great. So you go to the virus and threat detection. You can't really put this as an allowed threat per se. I don't think it's possible. But I don't that they don't instruct you to do that. Now, once you get to the switches, you turn real time protection off. It'll give you a yellow warning. All right. And then it'll tell you at the bottom the notifications if you have those open. And then it opens the window again. And then start applying all the changes. So what's happening now is it's going to go through a bunch of things. And it's going to take that mounted ISO, basically process different things about it in order to get your ISO generated and that sort of thing. So what's happening is it tells you kind of what it's doing by where the progress bar is on the right hand side, so you can correlate. So it's preparing the data at this point, and it's still preparing the data. And then it's got 44 components to remove. So I was able to spare 44 components out of this install. It's removed a whole bunch of files, like 389 files so far. Hard links of and you see the numbers going up though, And then it's gonna kind of save changes to the image shortly while it's thinking, And at the bottom where below me, it says saving changes to the image, and it tells you where it's saving it and what it's saving. So the progress is being made. this process does not take too long, but it could take a while. If you're processing a lot of images, if you're giving the end user or yourself a lot of choices, you could it could take a little bit of time to process. So right now it's going to save those changes. Okay. And while it's saving the changes to the images, you could, you could probably still work and do something else on your computer that you're doing this on. It wouldn't be no problem. You can minimize the window and do things like that. So far, it's looked like it's removed 785 files, by the settings that I chose on this ISO. Um, Whatever your requirements there may be different. So what you might do will differ from what I do, but you have the options to try different things. And that's the beauty of virtualization. You could try different things, see what works and what doesn't work for you. And that's what we're going to do a little bit later. We're actually going to virtualize this that we made, this ISO that we're going to make to see what we have. So you can see that it is currently exporting to the it's exporting the installation file, the WIMP, and it's optimizing the file structure and that sort of thing. We also have it's going to create the ISO at this point, which is great, and it tells you at the bottom where it's saving it to and that sort of thing, and it tells you completed where it saved it at, and you have the option to not show the message in the future. I usually never click that part. I always like to show messages because, but if you're in a production environment and you're trying to produce these things, it's a different story. I can understand. All right. So with that, we have a newly created ISO. Now we're gonna have to create a virtual environment, and my choice is VMware. You could use a hypervisor of your choice to test the ISO before taking it live. I recommend you do this, and it doesn't cost anything to do, and it could save you a lot of time and headaches. Because if you go install it on hardware, it could be a problem. So I go into VMware. This is VMware 17, and I download into it. I actually choose the ISO that I just created, and it tells you with the easy install, it's going to do Windows 10 64-bit version. You don't have to put your password in, but I put my password in, but I don't think in this it really helps you because I still have to put my password in every time I load it up for real. You know, maybe in this virtual environment it works, but when I get to the real environment, it doesn't carry over or nothing like that because the ISO is set in stone without your password. So it's optional. So you could put a password in if you want to, but you really don't have to. Um, it'll still work without it. You can put your product key in, which sometimes translates over, but I chose not to put my product key in, not on the virtual, because I don't really want to waste time doing that, and I don't want it to authenticate the virtual. I'm just here to test, and that's it. No need to license a test. All right. So it tells you you did not enter a product key, and then you could do it manually later, that sort of thing. Then we want to get to where we do our VMs at. I have a special place in my where I store my VMs, and you gotta make a folder. Don't just do like this and type it there because um, it's gonna. Which you gotta actually click make a new folder, and it's gonna give you the new folder right there. Then you want to go up there and you want to type what you have for it in that folder area. And then when you're done, type in that what you have for that folder. You could see how it went to a new folder. I had to do it again. I had to go back in, had to go to the VMs and actually select the folder that I made. So double check everything to make sure that it selects the right folder. Otherwise, you'll end up with files all over the place and it's no good. And I'm going to call the virtual machine name exactly what I called the file. I'm I'm going to take the maximum disk size and put it to 32. And actually, maybe I should have put it to 29 because that's kind of actually what you get after you have a 32 gigabyte chip in. Uh, and I checked it for 2 gigabytes of RAM, 2 processors. I don't know if that device has 2 processors or anything like that, but if anything, you want to mirror the hardware with you want to mirror the actual hardware that you're going to install this on so you could get a good indication of how it's going to run when you run it. You want to take a look at the install, you want to see how that runs and everything like that. And I like to go through the settings like a couple of times, you know what I mean? And I don't power on the virtual machine after creation because it gives me a chance to actually go through the settings again after creating the disk. And it's kind of a fail safe because if you power on the virtual machine after creation and something goes wrong, then you find that your disk might be missing. So I think it's best to create the disk in virtual VMware Workstation Player 17, then power on the hardware from the menu that's behind this box. Okay. And it's creating the disk. And once the disk is created, you'll see that your disk is powered off, your virtual machine is powered off. It's available right there. So if something goes wrong, that's what you have. Okay. All right. Now you could download Rufus from rufus.ie, and it's in English in my country from where I'm at. We have links from my site to this site to where you can get everything you need to do this task. Okay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you where you go. It shows you what you could do. This creates a bootable USB. Rufus is a great tool. You got to have it if you're going to do anything with like installing operating systems on a computer. Rufus is the thing. It's like a really good Swiss Army knife for like making different ISOs to USB sticks and things like that. And it does other things too in that category. All right, now I chose to format a blank USB thumb drive. So what I do typically is I'll take it, I'll put it on my computer because what I've used it for another project or something like that. Technically, it's an extra step, not entirely necessary, but I do it myself just to avoid any conflicts with the next step in the drive setup when Rufus gets to it. All right, so I'll just do a quick format, check the different parameters, and once I'm comfortable with the parameters, also don't forget to change the volume level. Like what happened was I clicked start before I changed the volume level, and the volume label does not really apply to what we're doing here. It's actually for a music project that you could find out about another way. So it does the quick format. It shouldn't take too long if your system is quick enough. And it tells you the format is complete. But at this point, I actually noticed the volume label and I decided to change it. You only have so many characters that you could put in the volume label. Okay. And you might even be able to leave it blank in some cases, but it's never a good practice to leave your volume label blank. Because what happens is when you load a USB stick from a previous project and you put a volume label on it, you know what it was for if you use the volume label function. So that's why I personally do it. So I'm going to do a quick format again on this. And it's, once again, I said this step is not entirely necessary, but it's a good step to do so that by the time you get to Rufus, you have a blank USB memory stick. Okay. And you see that it takes my new volume label. And then with that, we're going to use Rufus to write the modified ISO to blank USB drive. And Rufus is going to delete the drive or delete the data off the drive before it even attempts to write the ISO anyway. So I downloaded Rufus 4.12 with the update. Make sure your device is selected. Make sure you select the correct ISO image. And I have a place where I store my ISO images. So I'm going to go through it. And I got to make sure that, I select the right one. Otherwise, we'll be with something we don't need. All right. I don't change any of that. I just leave it alone. Make sure it's FAT32 or whatever your device can accept. I check the advanced features or VAT formats options just to check to make sure there's no surprises. And then I would click start. I'm ready. It told me this message, and you might get a security violation screen. And I chose to just proceed because um, at the end of the day, um, and then it asks you to customize Windows installation. I chose not to customize the installation. You create a local account with username. Set regional options to same. Um, just to be able to go from computer to computer, you don't really need me to have. If I'm going to computer with it, I don't really want to create my username with it. So I just chose to go on without checking any of this. It tells you all data is to be destroyed, and then it starts the process. Okay. So basically, it's going to do its thing, and it might take a little while. And in this screen, I just show it, and it doesn't take too long to entirely do. So, so that quick format I was talking about doing with the Windows operating system before is just it's an optional step. It's up to you. I don't think it's entirely necessary, but I do it for me because, like I said, I get to see what's on my disk before I destroy the data. Okay. All right, so it's gonna do this process. I sped it up a little bit so we could kind of get the gist of what we're working with, and it doesn't take too long. I think we're looking at about 20 minutes or so. So it's a good time to you check your emails. You could even minimize this and continue working. It tells you at the bottom what's actually happening, and Rufus is a great it's a great program, very handy. I use it for a lot of different applications. If you're doing like multi boots and Linux distros and things like that, this is kind of a good starting point with Rufus. You know what I mean? You got a lot of different options, um, and there's some cases where I get like these thumb drives right by default. Like I can only get them to do exFAT on the operating system straight, but the device I need them used them on requires FAT32, and sometimes I have to come to Rufus in order to get it done in FAT32, so I could use it on a target device. So that's the power of Rufus. So if the format's not available, it'll kind of force the format that you want by using this tool. Um, so once again, I do have a link to all these in one place, and instead of just linking to all the individual tools in the comments or information section of the video, I chose to put a link to the site, my site, which has a little bit of information about what we're doing here, the steps and different things like that. Also, the links to what you're going to need in order to do this process, so that it's convenient. You can bookmark it for later, um, and all that stuff. And also, while we're at it, you may as well subscribe and click the notification bell because I'm going to be putting out some videos, at least trying to get at least one video a week or something like that. Um, I gotta work, what I mean? I gotta go to work and stuff, so I gotta balance my time in between different things. But there's a lot of cool projects that I got coming up on the channel. I won't say exactly right now what they are because it's up in the air. I mean, I was supposed to do a totally different project than what I'm doing here, but what happened was I needed to get my laptop, running right for the road because the longevity of it was not there because I was getting frustrated. I want to shut down and it doesn't want to shut down. It wants to think and all this stuff. It's because you got all that stuff on the hard drive that's bloated in your Windows install. I'm not playing an Xbox, so I took all that out, things like that. And that's how it works, you know what I mean? So we are almost done with the copying of the ISO file. It's good to have a decent memory stick. Some of I like these Transcend and SanDisk sticks. You know what I mean? They work out pretty well. The one that I used for this project, uh, actually a SanDisk, fairly good speed. A fairly reasonable speed, and it works out quite well. So we're just gonna like take a minute, let this get done. We are almost to the end of this project. Now we're gonna do a quick install. We did the quick install on the operating system at some point, and we were impressed with the results. Okay. Um, it didn't look too bad, and actually worked out well. Okay. So we did the test earlier on the VMware, and we were pretty cool with what we had. So we're gonna power on the Acer, and we're gonna select the USB thumb drive to boot device to be the boot device. And I could not capture this with the video card that I had, so this is basically what my looks like. And then also, if you get locked out, there's a link to if you're locked out of your BIOS and it has a malfunction that locks you out of your BIOS, like mine does. There's a page that you could go to that'll help you get into your BIOS with a code. So I put the both USB, the HDD and the FDD up there because I'm not sure exactly which one it would work. It just depends on the USB stick that you have. Some are written in the different formats. Then I had to go save F10 to save and exit, and that pops up and it says save configuration changes and exit now. So now we're going to run the Windows 11 installation on target hardware, or Windows 10 in this case, and this is what it looked like. This is what our final install looks like on the device, the target device. We did the test in VMware, and I was impressed. And I don't believe I captured it in this video, but that's okay. Um, and then I just looked around at what we have. You know what I mean? I took a look at this PC, and we have 9.73 gigabytes free. Now, if you scroll back to earlier in the video, we had 3 gigabytes free, and we were lucky to even have that. And then usually in the working day, it's like a matter of megabytes. So we'll click on properties, and we'll see that the use space is currently 18 gigabytes. Um, and I'm wondering if I could get that squeezed down any further. And I have the option to I want to compress drives, but it wouldn't let me do it because of some process going on the DAC stump log. So we'll maybe try it later. But if you do, it might impact how your system operates. That's my experience with it. So if I could get away without compressing the drive, it means that the files are easier to be found, um, instead of going through a compressed, piece of wood, if you will. You know what I mean? Like, if you're like a termite and you're trying to chew a piece of wood, if the wood's too compressed, it might be a problem. That just a random idea. Um, but this is what it generally looks like. I go play around with it a little bit. I could map a few network drives to because when I'm at home, I could access them. If I want to access the map network drives on the road, I can do that too. But this time, I chose not to install VPN on the Open VPN on this because the VPSs have Open VPN on them, and if I need to do any multimedia work, I can to a lesser extent of than when I'm at home on a device here. Okay. Now we're almost finished. The install ran beautifully, but I couldn't capture it because the video card didn't come to with the HDMI port until the operating system here, Windows 10, found the correct video driver to get that to work. So I'm going to go over here, and for my sakes, I'm just going to quickly map a network drive just to make sure, see how it's talking to my network and everything like that. And to map a network drive is real simple. The computer name, which is, then you're going to put in the drive that you want to map. It's going to request credentials after attempting to connect to it. And it's going to ask you for your credentials. You want to put in your username and password. I had to go look it up because I don't remember all my passwords. That's just how it is. Um, and I had to, it took me a minute. And then I'm going to remember to save my credentials so that I don't have to keep typing them in every time. And this is just so I could get basic things like the remote desktop connection files over for what I need for the two VVSs. And I put in my password. Of course, I'm not going to show it. I'm not going to show my password, and it's going to remember my password. Only me and system knows the password, really, and that's great. So it's going to take a second. It's not the fastest computer in the bunch, and the network drive is going to appear, and this is just a little extra. You don't have to do this part if you don't have network drives. The way I work is I like to centralize location to move files around. You know what I mean? It's easier that way. So that gets my stuff, around and gets things done. Like, say, for instance, this video. There's a lot of files required to make this video, and I got to be able to get them around to different places to upload them, download them, and this, that, and the other. And it makes it real simple if you have a central location for your stuff. And backing it up also is a cinch. Now, once you put in the credentials for the same server and you go to another drive on the same server, you don't have to re-put in your credentials unless you connect using different credentials. Okay. And that's really it, and it connects to the drive. And then we go in and we're basically done. Everything's working pretty much. I just connected it to my phone Wi-Fi to test it out. At this time, I had to get the new phone, and it worked out. So at the end of the day, I would like to say thank you for watching this video. If you made it all the way to the end, you could contact us at techtintronics.net. You could go there, and if you go to techtintronics.com, you could get us there too. Also, too, make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. You want to click the notification bells and different things like that. We're going to have like different content coming up here soon, and I'll be looking for more technical content to do and things like that. So basically, thank you, and we're going to ride up out of here. We made it. The video's a little over an hour. I will cut the chapters in, and it's and that's all I got to say. So thank you. Take care.
Yo, what's up? This is Dr. Dre.
What's up, y'all? This is Tupac, Machiavelli the Dawn.
Yo, it's Crack Flag. This is Big Snoop Deal Double G.
You're in the mix with the one and only. It's DJ 3T.